We are living in a world that's changing at an unprecedented rate. This brings huge opportunities and also some major challenges. Global citizenship is a way of living that recognises our world as a complex web of connections and interdependencies. One in which our choices and actions have a real impact on people and the environment, locally and globally. To be effective global citizens, children and young people need to develop skills such as critical thinking, communication, and collaborating with others. They also need to develop values such as respect for people wherever they live, a commitment to participation and inclusion, and a belief that people really can bring about positive change, especially if we work together. Developing the knowledge, skills, values, and attitudes of global citizenship supports children and young people to be able to take informed and positive action, helping create a fairer and more sustainable world.
Global citizenship education is so important to me as a geography teacher. It's an integral part of what we do and what we teach. And the other big thing is in Scotland, learning for sustainability is a key part of our curriculum. Every kid's got an entitlement to learning for sustainability, so the global citizenship education is a key component within learning for sustainability. I think the other big thing to bear in mind is that the global citizenship education allows us to prepare the kids for what they're going to face after they leave school. It's not just about what they're doing within these four walls, it's about the wider world out there.
The world is far more connected now than it's ever been in the past, and what we're doing in Scotland has an impact or could have a knock-on impact elsewhere in the world, and it's really important that our students understand that of issues like climate change. We're using the electricity, producing the carbon dioxide, but it's other more rural, more remote areas that are feeling the largest impacts of climate change at the moment. So our students need to see that what they do does have an impact elsewhere in the world. And I think that global citizenship education helps them to empathise and have that different perspective. So if they're speaking to somebody from another country, to put themselves in that person's shoes rather than just to assume that everybody like Scotland is how the rest of the world is as well.
The Start of the Change project was really interesting to me. I'd only just moved here to Moray. I've been teaching since 2003 and I'm a physical geographer at heart. I'm interested in processes and landscapes, and I knew my human geography needed brushed up a wee bit. So getting involved in the Start of the Change project was a great opportunity to get my case studies up to date and my knowledge of social geography and human geography much more on point. So the opportunity to focus on migration, which is a key part of the geography curriculum at National 5 and at Higher, was my reason for first signing up for Start the Change.
I think as a scientist, it's quite easy to say that global citizenship fits better into other subjects. And I think what really interested me was that it was specifically for the senior phase kids. So something for us to do at secondary school that could have an impact, but also the idea that the Start the Change project was looking at migration. And for me as a science teacher, it was a real challenge that, how can I deliver my curriculum and get migration into the conversation as well, and open those doors to sort of putting the science that they're learning into a real world context.
The Start the Change project has had a huge impact on my practice. Initially, it was all about redesigning my population topic that I teach to higher geographers, and I was able to make it much more relevant, much more up to date. One of the big tasks I did based on the training from Start the Change was to ask all the pupils in the class to research migration within their own families. I had quite a few kids claiming to have no examples of migration in their family at all, and it wasn't until they went away and did the work they realised that, especially as people living in Scotland, we've got a background of migration going back centuries, and to try and get the kids to see modern day migration through the eyes of a population that has had migration in the past. So I think that's been a huge impact on the kids, is just getting the stuff up to date and relevant. One of the other big things about the Start the Change project is the focus on the Sustainable Development Goals. That's really improved my own personal development, and a lot of the strategies and methods that Start the Change went through with us from a teaching and learning point of view, I've now used with all different classes within the school. It started with a senior school and I've moved it down into the junior school. So some of the materials that they provided, some of the resources, these things I'm embedding across my teaching and learning.
My involvement in the Start the Change project has made me much more aware of the links that I can make between real world issues and the Sustainable Development Goals within the science curriculum. So really early on I started off with the S3 class, and we were teaching climate change at the moment, and I managed to link that into climate migration. And then from the climate migration, we were looking at, well, how could you beat the flood? And that then went into a practical action challenge where they had to design flood-proof housing. So it was all within the sort of STEM context, but it was, these links are things that I possibly wouldn't have made before had it not been for the training with the Start the Change project. And now, every time I'm planning new lessons or I'm coming up with ideas, I go, oh, that can fit in here. Or I can make links where I maybe was too narrow before. The sort of Start the Change projects widened my horizon, so I can see links that maybe I couldn't see before.
The project has really impacted the learners around their engagement with topics, the linking of their own family history to migration has had a big impact. We also have a strong history here in the school of learning for sustainability. So I was able to use that and build on it, and we now have an entire first year course on global goals, where the first year pupils work through a rotation of 4 different teachers looking at issues like climate action, inequality, waste management, ecological restoration. So the Start the Change project has really helped to instigate changes to the kids' curriculum, to what they're being taught, how they're being taught. It's been a real privilege to be involved in the project.
It's that thing that I don't know if there's an impact on the learners or if I see an impact on the learners because I want to see the impact in the learners, and also the enthusiasm that the learners have. I don't know if it's because they're enthusiastic about the Start the Change project or if it's because my enthusiasm for it has rubbed off on them. But the S2s and S3s, who were the starting classes with the Start the Change project, they're now my S5s and S6 classes, and I have much like the discussions that I can have with those 2 classes sort of 3 years on, and the sort of more open dialogue between those classes and the awareness more of like what's going on in the world around them. So most of my work 3 years ago was the S2 and S3 classes, and I would say I've seen a follow-on sort of improvement in discussions and ideas and connections with the students through the last 3 years. And I suppose I've been fortunate that I have had almost the same group of kids across the 3 years to see that development in them.
In terms of actions that we can all take, I think it's all, as a teacher, it's all about being factful in the classroom. It's about making sure that you're delivering up-to-date, relevant information to your pupils, which challenges stereotypes and it challenges that narrow take that we sometimes see in the media. So to challenge that and to take the kids outside their comfort zone a wee bit is really, really important. As a physical geographer, I've got a real interest in climate, and I thought my climate knowledge was pretty bang up to date. I did some recent training as part of Start the Change with Howdick, where they brought in a climate specialist, and his examples were up to date, and it was just amazing to be able to bring that straight back into the classroom and to ensure that the kids that are around us are up to date with their understanding, that they're challenging people around them, and they're finding a place for their own voice with these issues that are so important, whether it's migration, whether it's climate action, whether it's any of the SDGs. I think it comes to a point where we've got to take it beyond the four walls of the classroom, and the kids have got to be able to match what they're learning with the actions they then need to take in the wider world.
So to start the change, I think we could all be a little bit more considerate and start looking at it in terms of the Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals, I just think it's such an impressive set of 17 goals, and it makes it easy for each of us as individuals to go, okay, affordable and clean energy for all. So what could I do? I could switch my electricity off if I'm not using it. I could maybe look at lowering the temperature of my washing machine. And if there's enough of these little small changes, then I think it will make an impact. And it's trying to make people see that small changes that you can make in your classroom or at your home or in your daily life can have a build up into a bigger change more globally. And I also think talking about it, if you don't talk about these issues, and these issues are kept as taboo, so migration is kept as what you see in the news, and you're not talking about it with children, then they're going to have that perception, like almost the fake news, that this is what the stereotype is, and that's what they believe. But as soon as you open it up for discussion, they can see that it's not quite as black and white as the newspapers print.
What makes me feel like a global citizen is knowing that other people are really excited and passionate about engaging with global issues and engaging with positive action towards environmental justice and climate change.
What makes me feel like a global citizen is that I could fight for my education and learn more stuff as a woman and a female, yeah.
As a result of being a change maker, one of the changes that I have made is to feel and be more confident in talking about climate issues, talking about climate justice, and engaging with the science of climate change as well.
It's impacted me speak up more for other people and not hide behind everyone and tell people what's right and what's wrong.
An action I believe that everyone could take to start the change is any small action, because all small action has a positive impact on climate change.
To be more kind to everyone and treat them equally and not treat them differently for their gender or their age and everything. Sometimes people think that males are always better than females, and it's best to look at them equally, and yeah.